The story of Hamlet. Hello, everyone. Today we are going to tell you a very famous story called Hamlet. It is a sad and exciting story about a prince named Hamlet. He lives in a big castle and many bad things happen there. People lie, betray each other, and try to get revenge. In this video we will explain the whole story step by step in very simple English so everyone can understand it. Get ready to learn about love, anger, and tragedy in Hamlet. It was a cold, dark night in Denmark. The wind howled through the narrow streets of the kingdom, and the waves crashed against the rocky shores near Elsinore Castle. The castle stood tall and gloomy, its stone walls covered in moss from years of rain and mist. Inside, life seemed quiet, but outside, something strange and unsettling was happening. On the battlements, the high walls of the castle, two guards named Marcellus and Bernardo stood shivering in the freezing air. They were not alone. Another man, Horatio, was with them. Horatio was a close friend of Prince Hamlet, the son of the late King Hamlet. The guards had called Horatio because they wanted him to see something unbelievable. For 2 nights in a row, the guards had seen a ghost. It appeared just after midnight when the moon was hidden behind thick clouds. The ghost looked exactly like the dead king of Denmark, King Hamlet, who had passed away just a few months earlier. The guards didn't know what to think. Was it really the king's spirit? Or was it some kind of trick or illusion? When Horatio arrived, he didn't believe the guards at first. He thought they might be imagining things because of the cold and the darkness. But then, just as the clock struck midnight, the ghost appeared again. It was tall and pale, wearing armor that gleamed faintly in the dim light. Its face was sad and serious, and it stared straight ahead without speaking. Horatio was shocked. He tried to speak to the ghost, but it didn't answer. Instead, it moved slowly along the battlements before disappearing into the night. Horatio knew this was important. He decided to tell Prince Hamlet about the ghost immediately. Something told him that the ghost's appearance was connected to the strange events that had been happening in the kingdom. Prince Hamlet was already unhappy. His father, King Hamlet, had died suddenly and no one could explain why. The king had been strong and healthy, so his death came as a shock to everyone. Just weeks after the funeral, something even stranger happened. Hamlet's uncle, Claudius, took the throne and became the new king. To make matters worse, Claudius married Hamlet's mother, Queen Gertrude, almost immediately after the king's death. Hamlet couldn't understand how his mother could marry her husband's brother so quickly. He felt betrayed and angry. He loved his father deeply, and he thought his mother should have mourned longer. Instead, she seemed happy with Claudius, and Hamlet hated it. He spent most of his time alone thinking about how unfair life was. Hamlet wore black clothes every day because he was still mourning his father. He avoided talking to people and stayed in his room for hours. Sometimes he would sit by the window and stare out at the sea, thinking about the past. He missed his father very much and wished things could go back to the way they were. When Horatio told Hamlet about the ghost, Hamlet was curious. He wanted to see it for himself. That night he went to the castle walls with Horatio and the guards. Sure enough, the ghost appeared again. It looked exactly like his father, wearing armor and carrying a sad expression. The ghost motioned for Hamlet to follow it, and Hamlet did. Once they were far away from the others, the ghost began to speak. "I am your father," it said in a deep, echoing voice. "But I am not resting in peace. My death was not natural, it was murder. Your uncle Claudius killed me. He poured poison into my ear while I was sleeping in the garden. He wanted the throne and your mother. You must revenge my foul and unnatural murder." Hamlet was shocked. He didn't know what to do. Should he believe the ghost? What if it wasn't really his father? What if it was some evil spirit trying to trick him? Hamlet decided to act crazy to hide his feelings. He started behaving strangely so no one would suspect that he knew about Claudius's crime. From that day on, Hamlet pretended to be mad. He laughed at strange times, talked nonsense, and acted like he didn't know what was going on. Some people thought he had gone crazy because of his father's death. Others thought he was upset about his mother marrying Claudius. No one guessed the real reason for his behavior. Hamlet's strange behavior worried everyone. His mother, Queen Gertrude, thought he was heartbroken over his father's death. She believed he was overwhelmed by grief and needed time to heal. But Claudius wasn't so sure. He thought Hamlet might be plotting something dangerous. So Claudius sent two of Hamlet's old friends, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, to spy on him. They pretended to visit as friends, but their real job was to find out what Hamlet was planning. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern were childhood friends of Hamlet. They used to play games together and laugh a lot. But now they were working for Claudius. When they arrived at the castle, they tried to act friendly, but Hamlet saw through their lies. He knew they were spying on him and he didn't trust them. At the same time, Polonius, a man who worked for the king, had his own theory. Polonius thought Hamlet was acting crazy because he was in love with his daughter Ophelia. Ophelia was a sweet and innocent girl, and she and Hamlet had once been close. But now Hamlet treated her badly. He yelled at her and told her to go live in a nunnery, a place where women could stay away from men and avoid corruption. Poor Ophelia didn't understand why Hamlet was acting this way. She thought he had gone mad. Polonius told Claudius and Gertrude about his idea. To test it, they set up a meeting between Hamlet and Ophelia. They hid behind a curtain to watch what would happen. When Hamlet saw Ophelia, he acted cold and cruel. He told her she should never have trusted him and that all men were liars. This made Claudius think Polonius's theory might be wrong. Hamlet's madness wasn't about love. It was something deeper. Hamlet needed proof that Claudius had killed his father. He came up with a clever plan. He asked a group of actors to perform a play at the castle. The play would show a king being murdered by his brother, just like the ghost had described. Hamlet called it the mousetrap. He hoped that when Claudius watched the play, he would react in a way that proved his guilt. On the night of the performance, everyone gathered in the castle hall. The room was filled with candles and the walls were decorated with colorful tapestries. The actors acted out the murder scene, showing how poison was poured into the king's ear. As soon as Claudius saw this part, he jumped up and ran out of the room. His reaction was proof enough for Hamlet. Claudius was guilty. Later that night, Hamlet thought deeply about life and death. He wondered if it was better to live or to die. He said these famous words, "To be or not to be, that is the question." He was afraid of what might come after death, but he also felt trapped in his painful life. These thoughts made him even more confused. Hamlet walked around the castle thinking about everything. He looked at the stars and wondered if there was a higher power watching over him. He thought about his father and how much he missed him. He thought about his mother and how angry he was with her. He thought about Claudius and how much he hated him. His mind was full of questions and he didn't know what to do next. Claudius knew Hamlet was dangerous. He decided to send him away to England, but secretly he wrote a letter asking the King of England to kill Hamlet when he arrived. Hamlet found out about the letter and changed it. Instead of killing him, the letter now ordered the deaths of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. They didn't know what Hamlet had done and they sailed off to their doom. Meanwhile, Ophelia was falling apart. Her father, Polonius, had been accidentally killed by Hamlet earlier. Hamlet had mistaken Polonius for Claudius and stabbed him through a curtain. Now Ophelia couldn't handle the pain. She went mad, singing strange songs and wandering around the castle. One day she drowned in a river. Some people thought it was an accident, but others believed she had killed herself. Ophelia's brother Laertes returned home furious. He wanted revenge for his father's death and his sister's madness. Claudius saw this as an opportunity. He told Laertes they should work together to kill Hamlet. They planned a fencing match between Hamlet and Laertes. But it wasn't a fair fight. They made the swords sharp and poisoned the tip of Laertes' sword. They also put poison in a cup of wine for Hamlet to drink. On the day of the match, everyone gathered to watch. The room was filled with tension. The air felt heavy and no one smiled. Hamlet and Laertes stood facing each other, holding their swords. At first the fight seemed normal. Hamlet and Laertes exchanged blows and the crowd cheered. But then things went horribly wrong. Queen Gertrude, Hamlet's mother, picked up the poisoned cup of wine. She raised it in a toast to her son, saying, "Here's to your luck, Hamlet." Before anyone could stop her, she drank the wine. Claudius tried to warn her, but it was too late. The poison worked quickly and Gertrude collapsed, gasping for breath. She died right there in front of everyone. During the fight, Hamlet was cut by Laertes' poisoned sword. But in the chaos, the swords got switched and Laertes was also cut by the poisoned blade. Both men fell to the ground, bleeding heavily. As they lay dying, Laertes confessed everything. He told Hamlet about the poisoned swords and the cup of wine. He said Claudius was behind it all. Hamlet was filled with rage. He grabbed the poisoned sword and stabbed Claudius. Then he forced Claudius to drink the rest of the poisoned wine. Claudius choked and fell to the floor, dead. With his last bit of strength, Hamlet turned to his friend Horatio. "Tell my story," he said. "Make sure the world knows the truth about what happened here." Then Hamlet took his last breath. He closed his eyes and died. At that moment, Fortinbras, a prince from Norway, arrived. He saw the bodies of Hamlet, Claudius, Gertrude, Laertes, and Ophelia. It was a terrible sight. Fortinbras ordered Hamlet to be buried with honor as a hero. In the end, almost everyone important in the story died. Hamlet, Claudius, Gertrude, Laertes, Ophelia, Polonius, Rosencrantz, and Guildenstern, all gone. The story of Hamlet teaches us about revenge, betrayal, and the dangers of holding on to anger. It's a tragic tale, but it reminds us how complicated life can be. If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more stories like this. Let us know in the comments what you think about Hamlet or if you have any questions. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.